Shalom family, what's good? This is your brother in Yarika. Peace and love to my brothers and sisters. We're just gonna pick up from where we left off in the last video. In the last video, we talked about Noah and his son Ham, and how Ham stole the holy garments that were given to Noah from his forefathers, Enoch, Seth, Adam. All right, but Ham gave those garments to Cush, and Cush passed them down to Nimrod. All right. So in this video, we're not going to touch on that just yet. We're going to touch on that in the next video, the garments, Nimrod and Esau. But in this video, I want to touch on Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, and Isaac. Okay. And what happened with them. Why did Sarah tell Abraham to throw Hagar and Ishmael out of the house? Okay. And send them on their way. Why did she do that? Okay, as I stated in the last video, the Bible is just an overview. It doesn't go into detail on a lot of things. So what we have to do is go into the extra biblical text and get a deeper understanding. All right. And that's what we're going to do in this video. Okay, I'm going to go into the book of Jubilees, the book of Jasher, the legend of the Jews, and I may go into Josephus. All right. Just to line everything up, just to see what all the records say. And we're just going to do it like that. If you don't have these records, that's cool. If you do, that's cool. If you don't, just follow along with me. You can see it on the screen. We're going to read. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're going to start in Genesis, the 21st chapter. And we're going to read verse 8. It says, "And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned." Verse 9, "And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight, because of his son. And the Most High said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight, because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. And all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread, and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and he sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba." So here in Genesis chapter 21, we see here in verse 9, where it says, "Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking." Okay. It doesn't go into detail. It doesn't tell you why he was mocking or what exactly he was doing. You know what I'm saying? It just goes on to say, "Wherefore Sarah said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac." Okay, so it doesn't tell you nothing. It doesn't tell you why. It just says he was mocking him. All right. So what we're going to do now is go into the other records to really see what happened, okay, between Ishmael and Isaac. Okay, so the first record we're going to go into is the book of Jubilees. All right, this is chapter 17. And we're going to read verse 1. It says, "And in the first year of the 5th week, Isaac was weaned in this Jubilee. And Abraham made a great feast in the 3rd month on the day his son Isaac was weaned. And Ishmael, the son of the Egyptian, Hagar, was before the face of his father in this place. And Abraham rejoiced and blessed the Most High, because that he could see sons to himself, and had not died without sons. And he remembered the words which he had spoken to him on the day that Lot separated from him. And he rejoiced, because the Most High had given him seed on the earth to inherit the land. And he blessed with his whole mouth the Creator of all things. And when Sarah saw that Ishmael was playing and growing, okay, and that Abraham was rejoicing exceedingly, she became jealous of Ishmael. And she said to Abraham, drive away this slave and her son, for the son of this one shall not inherit with my son Isaac. And these words were grievous in the eyes of Abraham, on account of his maid and on account of his son, that he should drive them away from him. And the Most High said to Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy eyes concerning the child and concerning the slave. All that Sarah says to thee, hear her words and do them. For in Isaac shall thy name and thy seed be called for thee. But the son of this slave I will make into a great nation, for he is of thy seed. And Abraham arose early in the morning and took bread and a bag of water and put them upon the shoulders of Hagar and of the boy and sent them away. All right. So we see here in the book of Jubilees, chapter 17, verse 4, it says, and when Sarah saw that Ishmael was playing and growing, and that Abraham was rejoicing exceedingly, she became jealous of Ishmael, and she said to Abraham, drive away this slave and her son. All right. So the only thing the book of Jubilees points out is that Sarah was jealous of Ishmael, and she wanted Abraham to cast out him and his mama. So we're going to move on to the next record and see what it says. So the next record we're going to go into is the ancient book of Jasher, or the book of the upright ones. All right, we're in chapter 21, book of Jasher. We're going to go down to verse 7, and then we're going to skip down to 11. Okay. Verse 7, and they came to Abraham, and they ate and drank at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of Isaac's being weaned. Verse 11, and Ishmael, the son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bare Isaac to Abraham. And the Most High was with Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and he grew up, and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. And when Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. And Ishmael came to Isaac and seated himself opposite to him. And he betook the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it and intended to slay Isaac. And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Isaac, and it grieved her exceedingly on account of her son. And she sent for Abraham and said to him, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son. For thus did he seek to do unto him this day. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah, and he rose up early in the morning, and he took 12 loaves and a bottle of water, which he gave to Hagar, and sent her away with her son. And Hagar went with her son to the wilderness, and they dwelt in the wilderness of Paran with the inhabitants of the wilderness. And Ishmael was an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long time. So we see here in the book of Jasher, the 21st chapter, verses 14 and 15, where Ishmael came to Isaac, seated himself opposite to him, took a bow, drew it, put an arrow in it, and intended to slay or kill Isaac. Sarah saw what he was doing. Sarah went to Abraham. Hey, they got to go. This boy just tried to kill my baby. Put him out. Now. And that's what happened. Okay, so again, this is what the book of Jasher is stating. So we're going to go into the next record, the Legend of the Jews. Okay, so we are now in the Legend of the Jews. And as I've mentioned in the last video, this book here is very, very, very detailing. Okay, if you're going to go into it, you need to examine it, and just discern. Okay, so anyways, we're in chapter 5, and chapter 5 is about Abraham. And the section here is Ishmael cast off. All right. So let's read. It says, when Isaac grew up, quarrels, meaning fights, broke out between him and Ishmael. on account of the rights of the firstborn. Ishmael insisted he should receive a double portion of the inheritance after the death of Abraham, and Isaac should receive only one portion. Ishmael, who had been accustomed from his youth to use the bow and arrow, was in a habit of aiming his missiles in the direction of Isaac. Says the same thing in Jasher, saying at the same time that he was but jesting. Sarah, however, insisted that Abraham make over to Isaac all he owned, that no disputes might arise after his death. For she said, Ishmael is not worthy of being heir with my son, nor with a man like Isaac, and certainly not with my son Isaac. Furthermore, Sarah insisted that Abraham divorce himself from Hagar, the mother of Ishmael, and send away the woman and her son, so that there be naught in common between them and her own son, either in this world or in the future world. Of all the trials Abraham had to undergo, none was so hard to bear as this, for it grieved him sorely to separate himself from his son. The Most High appeared to him in the following night, and said to him, Abraham, knowest thou not that Sarah was appointed to be thy wife from her mother's womb? She is thy companion and the wife of thy youth. And I named not Hagar as thy wife, nor Sarah as thy bondwoman. What Sarah spoke unto thee was naught but truth. And let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. The next morning Abraham rose up early, gave Hagar her bill of divorcement, and sent her away with her son, first binding a rope about her loins, that all might see she was a bondwoman. Check this out. The evil glance cast upon her stepson by Sarah made him sick and feverish, so that Hagar had to carry him, grown up as he was. I believe he was like 20 years old at this point. In his fever he drank often of the water in the bottle given her by Abraham as she left his house, and the water was quickly spent, that she might not look upon the death of her child. Hagar cast Ishmael under the willow shrubs growing under the selfsame spot whereon the angels had once spoken with her and made known to her that she would bear a son. In the bitterness of her heart she spoke to the Most High and said, Yesterday thou didst say to me, I will greatly multiply thy seed, that it shall not be numbered for multitude, and today my son dies of thirst. Ishmael himself cried unto the Most High, and his prayer and the merits of Abraham brought them help in their need. Though the angels appeared against Ishmael before the Most High, they said, Wilt thou cause a well of water to spring up for him, whose descendants will let thy children of Ishmael perish with thirst? But the Most High replied and said, What is Ishmael at this moment, righteous or wicked? And when the angels called him righteous, the Most High continued, I treat man according to his deserts at each moment. All right, going back up. Okay. We see here in the legend of the Jews, it's pretty much saying the same thing that the book of Jasher is saying. That Ishmael took his bow and he tried to kill Isaac. Okay. Sarah saw it and she went to Abraham. Hey, you got to get them up out of here. This boy just tried to kill my son. I don't want him around my son, and he will not be heir with my son. They got to go. And then it goes into some other stuff as well. This is what we get from the legend of the Jews. All right, so the next record we're going to go into is the book of Josephus. Book 1, chapter 12, and we're going to go down to section 3 or paragraph 3. Okay. It says, as for Sarah, she at first loved Ishmael, who was born of her own handmaid Hagar, with an affection not inferior to that of her own son. For he was brought up in order to succeed in the government. But when she herself had borne Isaac, she was not willing that Ishmael should be brought up with him, as being too old for him and able to do him injuries when their father should be dead. She therefore persuaded Abraham to send him and his mother to some distant country. Now, at the first, he did not agree to what Sarah was so zealous for, and thought it an instance of the greatest barbarity to send away a young child and a woman unprovided of necessaries. But at length he agreed to do it, because the Most High was pleased with what Sarah had determined. So he delivered Ishmael to his mother, as not yet able to go by himself, and commanded her to take a bottle of water and a loaf of bread, and so to depart, and to take necessity for her guide. But as soon as her necessary provisions failed, she found herself in an evil case. And when the water was almost spent, she laid the young child, who was ready to expire or die, under a fig tree, and went on further, that so he might die while she was absent. But a divine angel came to her and told her of a fountain hard by, and bid her take care and bring up the child, because she should be very happy by the preservation of Ishmael. She then took courage upon the prospect of what was promised her, and meeting with some shepherds by their care, she got clear of the distresses she had been in. So in the book of Josephus, it really doesn't go into too much detail either. It's just basically saying how Sarah didn't want Ishmael to grow up with Isaac, because he might hurt him or whatever after their father died. So basically, she wanted Abraham to send them away to a distant country, right? But it really doesn't go into too much detail. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the book of Josephus. So let's wrap this up. All right, so I'm gonna give a brief breakdown. In the book of Genesis, it tells us that Ishmael was mocking or laughing at Isaac. Okay. Then we go into the book of Jubilees, and it tells us that Sarah was jealous of Ishmael because he was playing and growing up. Okay. And then in the book of Jasher, Sarah saw Ishmael take a bow, drawing it, pointing it towards Isaac, and he intended to slay or kill him. Okay. And that's what caused her to go to Abraham and say, look, they got to get out. Then we go to the legend of the Jews, and it pretty much says the same thing. He took a bow, or even before that, as they were growing up, quarrels or fights started to break out between the two. Okay. And Ishmael was just boasting about inheriting this and that or whatever. But then all of that led to him taking the bow, drawing it, aiming it towards Isaac, and intending to kill him. Then we go into the book of Josephus, which pretty much says the same thing that Jubilees and the Bible or Genesis is saying. All right. If you ask me what I think, what my take is, I think I'm going to go with the legend of the Jews and the book of Jasher. Because we know the same thing happened with Esau and Jacob. But this is before that, though, And it's all about birthrights. It's all about inheriting the possessions and the blessings and things of that nature. So we already know how that is, or how that was between Ishmael, Isaac, and Esau and Jacob. All right. So I think I'm going to go with that. I think the book of Jasher and the legend of the Jews makes the most sense. I believe that they're the most accurate out of all the records. Okay, you may feel different, and that's cool. But let me know what you all think down below in the comments. And as always, man, peace and love. Shalom. The next video is coming. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it, all that good stuff, man. We just reading, we building, just getting a better understanding. That's all. So shalom. I love y'all. Peace.